Hello, I'm Anne-Marie, and today I'm joined by Sue Anderson. Sue's had 44 years experience working in the community and with her local community in both public and voluntary sector roles. She has also created Second Chance with local communities, and she came across the 3 principles understanding 8 years ago. And I'd like to start by welcoming Sue and saying, first question, prior to you coming across the 3 principles understanding, can you give me an example of what your life was like and if it changed anyway after coming across the understanding?
So before hearing about the principles, I would have said I was a bit of a people pleaser. I definitely used to overthink a lot. I was a bit of a workaholic. I would tend to worry about certain things. I was always concerned about what people might think. So, considering I'd worked in the community for a lot of years, there was still a lot on my mind when I was out there doing my work. But I had a very good role model when I was younger, an Irish grandmother, absolutely fantastic woman who always said to me, if you come from this place, and she always pointed to her heart, and come from that place of love, it'll get you through anything. And she was right. She was absolutely right. And it was really interesting for me too, that when you said, oh, would you come on here and speak? And it's called Remap your life. There's lots of times in my life that I've had to do that. And I would say before the principles, it was very shaky the way I did it, but I did it. And when I was introduced to the principles, it was like cracking my heart wide open. It was absolutely, I know this information. I completely understand what's being said here. I feel it. Every bit of me feels this. And I just thought, this is the secret to life. And I will share this and live from this space till the day I die. And that's genuinely how I felt about it all. And all the things that I said that was going on for me before the principles pretty much disappeared, just melted away. And I've never really looked back. And believe me, my life over that period of time has been like a roller coaster. But I'm enjoying the ride, whether it's up or whether it's down now, because I know completely where that's coming from. So being able to share that information with local communities, because I was so passionate about them all my life, being able to give that information if people were ready to hear it was just the best thing for me. Absolute best thing. So I'll just say a little bit about how I was introduced to it, really, because I've got quite a history, and I did say to you, Anne-Marie, there's all sorts I could talk about. You'll have to just press the button and tell me when. My partner and I ran a training and conference centre in the northeast in Saltburn, and it was called Be All You Can. And it was a brilliant place, and lots of people used to use it. So it would be used by the chief exec of the local authority and all the directors. It was used by social services. It was used by Sure Start. It was used by private people, teachers. All sorts of people used it for meetings and events and things like that. And we always got a lot of brilliant feedback. Now, as that business was opening, we found it just by chance. and we were offered this lease on it for was it 5 years? Yeah, 5 years. And when we were offered the lease, we didn't have much in the way of money, but we were really like, we're going to do this. And what happened was, because of my work in the community, I put an appeal out. I put an appeal out for conference chairs, tables, knives, forks, spoons, crockery, therapy beds, you name it. I just put an appeal out. And that business opened on kindness. Right down to the last teaspoon, it opened on kindness. It was absolutely amazing. It was just like putting your hands out and somebody getting hold of them. And it was interesting because the first person we had privately for to do like a therapy weekend or whatever was a woman called Lindsay Wagner, who used to be the Bionic Woman. And I'd met her locally in our local town, and I said, "Oh, we're opening this conference centre. Would you come and do a workshop?" And she said, "Yes, of course I will." So in she comes. She did a brilliant workshop because she's into I don't know what they call it, EFT, like tapping, and she does something else that's linked around centering and things like that. So she come along. She opened it. And then we had a gentleman that drove past quite regularly, who you may know, and it was Julian Freeman. And Julian Freeman come into the business and he said, "Be all you can, what's this about?" So I was explaining what the business was about, and he said, "Oh, can I volunteer?" And I said, "Yeah, of course you can," because we had a number of different projects for different people, because it was a social enterprise. So we did stuff socially with recovery groups and things like that. And Julian was there for a couple of weeks, and he said, "There's something about this place." And he kept going like this. And I was saying, "Julian, what's this?" And he said, "It's a feeling. It's a feeling I'm getting while I'm here." Oh, thank you very much. That's the kind of feedback we get. And it got to the 5th year and we were closing. So the lease was up, and we thought, do you know what? We've done now 5 years. We could stay, but business was up and down like that because there'd been cuts in the local authority and things. And he said, "Can I bring this bloke across and he can do a workshop here over a weekend?" So I said, "Oh yeah, absolutely. He's coming from America, you know." "Oh, that's lovely." He said, "Would you like to meet him?" I said, "Well, he's just very welcome to host a workshop, but I will." And it was Dickin. So I spoke to Dickin very briefly, and he kind of told me, a little bit about himself. And I said, "I'm really looking forward to meeting you." And then come the weekend, Dickin and Coisy rock up to do the weekend. And he said, "Come and sit in on the workshop." Well, Anne-Marie, that was the best thing ever. Absolutely best thing ever. I cried the whole weekend, but it was happy tears. It was like, this information feels like this has been who I am all of my life, but it just cracked everything wide open. And we actually closed the business about a month after Dickin left, because that was the period. And there was a 3PCG conference on in Minnesota. And it was for 4 days. And I spoke to my partner, Bernie, and I said, "Should we go to the conference?" I was like, "Are we then?" So we flew out to America for 4 days for a conference, which I'd never done in the whole of my entire life. And Dickin was, as soon as we walked in the hotel, Dickin was the first one there, arms wide open. And it was, when you're meant to be somewhere, it just feels right. And the conference started, and it was the first conference everybody had got back together after Sid's death. So it felt very, it felt very loving and like people were holding a space. It was something special for me. And as the conference started, there was two seats in the second row, and I thought, oh, we'll have them, and we can see who's speaking and all the rest of it. And in the first row, everybody talked to me, turned round and talked to me, and it was Elsie, Chip, Jan, George, Linda, Pransky, the whole, what I class as the elders, were sat in front of me, and every single one turned round and spoke to me. And it was like, these are so lovely, these people. And then I sat in on lots of the workshops, and honestly, I felt full from the inside out. It was just amazing. It just felt like every bit, every cell of my body was just alive. And then I come back from Minnesota and got back to the UK. Can you hear the rain here? Yeah, I'll need to go. I'll walk her into a room. Excuse me. Sorry about this. I was in the conservatory.
I used to do this in the conservatory as well, but the reception wasn't very good, so I moved it into the living room.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Right.
So what happened was when I got back to the UK, I got really, really quiet, and I genuinely didn't know what to do. Didn't know what to do at all. And what happened was, after a year, I felt so much at peace. Oops. There was less stress in my life. I don't know. It was just a very still and very peaceful place. But after a year, I thought, I need to talk to somebody about this. I've worked in local communities. I need to speak to somebody. And I approached the local community centre in Middlesborough, and a colleague, Amanda Buck, said to me, you know, if you come in, do it with the staff, do it with the volunteers, and then maybe we can, do something with the local community. So I did do that, and they were blown away. And after that, it was like, well, can you do this with the local community? So I ended up writing a programme, because it was funded by Adult Education. And I don't know whether you know them, but they have to have everything, like session plans and this, that and the other. And I had a conversation with Chip a long time ago, and he said, funding applications and things that people want to see, write them in form, and just deliver from a different place, and it will just go so smoothly. And what happened was, we launched the programme, and loads and loads of people from the local community just come in, because we were saying, if you're feeling stressed or different things are going on in your life, come along and see how this can help. And lots and lots of people from the local community come along, and it was a multicultural community. So we had people from Pakistani, Bangladesh, German, Eastern European. Oh, absolutely, whole host of beautiful, beautiful people coming from our local community. And everybody just opened their arms to what was going on in their hearts, and saying, this, thank you, this is really, really helping us and our families. So that was the first kind of tier or layer of people. And then what happened was, we put some of the leaflets out to doctors' surgeries and things like that. And then we started getting teachers and pastoral leads. We were getting police officers, job centre plus advisors, health workers, nurses, oh, everybody. It was absolutely amazing. Coming along because they were genuinely stressed, and it was the place to be. And it was obvious that people were hearing something because their lives, were changing. And that was, so important to me, really, that they were finding who they were. And then what happened was the school started to get interested and wanted me to work with parents as well. So I was working with the parents, and what happened from that point was the parents were loving what I was having to say. It was touching somewhere for them. They were hearing their own wisdom speaking, and they said, well, what about the children? So I took myself along and I did the iHeart facilitators training, and I've had an experience in several primary schools, pupil referral unit, and did a parent and young people session in the local community centre. So it's just really opened everything up, and I think I said at the beginning, the whole idea of your series, this remapping, has meant that every time things happen in my life, when you said it's remapping, what came to mind was a sat nav. That sometimes that things go crazy, and it's about recentering, and then you'll notice there's a couple of different routes, but it's only in the centering, and in that quiet and in that peace that you hear the whisper or wisdom pops up. And that's the magic for me. So yeah, so it's helped me recenter and redirect where I'm going and how I do things.
If you ever feel yourself going off kilter with maybe because we all get into bad moods or whatever.
Yeah.
How do you overcome? Might not be the right word, but that's the only word I can think of using. How do you center yourself from that space?
It's quite funny. I really genuinely don't feel like I go to that place many times like I used to. And I'm lucky enough that my partner as well has heard the understanding. So what tends to happen is, have you heard the saying, I look after me for you if you look after you for me? Is that right? I've said it the right way around. I look after me for you if you look after you for me. That's it. Which means that I genuinely feel like there's an adult relationship going on. So if I need to go and get quiet, which means I might go mow the lawn or wash the windows or take myself off for a walk, I just kind of wait till I settle, really.
I also noticed that you created the first Northern 3Ps conference. Would you like to talk about that, how that came about?
Yeah, I was pretty lucky. I love events. I love attending them and love organising them, because I used to organise International Women's Day, and we used to have, lots of people coming to that, men and women. It was brilliant. And I just had a vision, really, that I wanted people just to come together, not just through, doing a 6-week programme or something, but the Northeast, it was like, we deserve it. We need a good conference in the Northeast. And I'd met Bill and Linda Pettit on Salt Spring. And what's that? Yeah, I'd met Linda and Bill on Salt Spring, and talk about seeing the principles in action. Just being around them was magical. It wasn't anything they were saying, it was just the way they lived their lives, really. And we connected very deeply. And as I'd said to them, would you come to the Northeast and be involved in a conference? And they said, we'd love to. They jumped at the chance. And then I held my hands out to Dave Ellery and Jenny Anderson and Jacqueline Hollows and Annie Silverdale, who's in education, and Steve Adair and Tony Fiedler. So we had a great amount of people come, just to be speakers and to support the event. And we had 100 people on the day. And some people just hadn't heard about the principles, but they just said it was probably one of the best conferences that they'd actually attended. And I just got some absolute fantastic feedback about it, really, about the loving space. And a beautiful Asian man stood up and pointed over and said, so I've been reading the Quran, and I just love it that Sid Banks says it in 3 words. He said everybody's saying the same thing, but he's saying it in 3 words. And it just felt, his heart was open, and it was beautiful that he could share that amongst all these people as well. So yeah, we got a great response from that. And then the year after, Dickin Bettinger actually come and did a community retreat as well for us. So that was great.
That's one thing I remember from Sid Banks's videos. He says all religions are saying the same thing.
Yeah,
pointing to the same thing.
Absolutely. And I genuinely, hand on my heart, can say that it's, it's spirit. It's in all of us, and it doesn't need any words. When I've been involved with local communities in our sessions, there's nothing there except love, and that's where it all begins for me, really.
I see Wendy Davey is here, and she works in schools. And I noticed you also you've delivered the iHeart programme to primary and secondary schools. Would you like to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I had an interesting time with iHeart, actually, because, like I said, the pastoral leads had said to me, what about the children? The parents had said, what about the children? And so I went off and I did the programme. And the first invitation that I got from a school, it was like, oh, this is lovely. I'm going to go along and do it. And when I turned up, I had a classroom of 7 and 8-year-olds. Well, if you look at the actual curriculum, it's meant to be for year 6. And I thought, I can't walk out on the children, So what I did was I just stripped it all back, and I thought, you know what? I'm just going to come from a place of love, and these children will hear this because they're living it. They are it. And oh my goodness, it was the best 10 weeks I'd ever had. And those children were absolutely amazing. Boys and girls, and they were, oh, it was just beautiful. It was an honour to be with them. It was very humbling. what they wanted for the world and for each other was, it got me lost for words, to tell you the truth, Anne-Marie.
Would you say children are more open to the understanding than adults?
Yes. Yeah.
Because they're innocent already, I guess. They haven't
Yeah.
been corrupted by the world.
Yeah. And I find that for myself as well, because it's that whole idea of playing and that, that surprise in the moment and that joy of that moment, rather than what's going to happen next, or what happened yesterday. It's that, and it's that fun and the lightness and it's all that really gets me with children.
Wendy Davey, I'm going to pick on you if you've got anything to say or comments or questions, just because you currently work in schools. Oh, you've gone on silent. What are you thinking?
Sorry, I'm just getting my partner to turn the TV. No, it's just lovely, Sue. Lovely to listen to you. Haven't got anything to ask. I work in a secondary school with a variety of students. Some challenging, some in very sad positions in their life. But it's just really nice to hear, and lovely to hear your story. And as you know, we're all coming from the same place. It's beautiful.
I was lucky enough as well. My sister, my niece, was feeling quite troubled just before she was leaving secondary school, and it was that time where people were talking about, drugs, sex, alcohol, this, that, and the other, and she's a free spirit, is my niece. And my sister was a bit concerned and thinking, oh, do I need to get a counsellor in and this, that and the other? And thank goodness she said, go and speak to Auntie Sue. And all she needed was just some time and space, just to recenter herself and listen to her wisdom. And that's what she was given. And over a period of weeks, I then became a redundant auntie. And the same young woman now she is, travelled around Spain on her own with a knapsack on her back, and rang me every now and again, said, Auntie Sue, I'm feeling a little bit frightened. I'm on a bus and nobody speaks English. And I would be a little bit like, ooh. And I'd think, no, it's all right, you'll be fine. And just give her a few things to remember. And then she'd text me back in about 10 minutes, go, I'm all right now. But she travelled the whole place, and she's gone off to university now, and she's spreading the understanding herself. So I'm quite chuffed about that.
When we were talking earlier, you were saying you're going through a lot of change and remapping at the moment, especially since COVID hit.
Yeah.
Would you like to talk about that a bit?
Yeah. Well, it started off a little bit before COVID, because my partner and I had sold our house, and we decided that we were going to go travelling and make some decisions about where we might want to live. And we'd been staying in Richmond in some lovely lodges there, quite Scandinavian. They were all mirrored and lovely. And what happened was my mother-in-law became poorly. So we were backwards and forwards, and she'd had a fall, and I can't even remember when the lockdown happened, but it must have been March or April. And what happened was we were visiting, and we got locked down 400 miles away from my mum, our daughter, and our life, really, and became carers overnight, 24/7, because she's 98-year-old. And that was a real like shake up, because he had never done anything in the way of physical caring before. And it was just a very interesting time, because my community, from being massive in the north and the work I was doing, became the three of us. So keeping our community in a good space was really interesting. And I learned so much from that experience. And some of it, you might be interested in it as well, Anne-Marie, because one bit of it for me was, she's got some physical things that are wrong with her now. And so some days when she was suffering and in pain, she could be quite critical, or just not a bit unpleasant to be around. And one day a thought just came, and it was to do with the Lord's Prayer, and it was to do with forgive those who trespass against us. And I thought, oh my goodness, I finally understand some of the words that were said in this. And what that meant to me was that if I was feeling ill, like not in a good space towards her, then it was about forgiving me for having that feeling and that thinking about that person. And then, so I really got a big sense of what forgiveness was. So forgiveness starts here. And then what that meant I could do was forgive her, because I realized that she was in pain and she was suffering, and that's not who she is. And in turn, there was lots of things that happened. So, you know, when people cut you up on the road, or people say things like that, I just really understood more about how I wanted to be around people. And, you know, if people said something because they were distressed, it was almost kind of, you know, just stepping back from that. So, you know, you weren't getting the full force of it, but understanding that they were just in that space, and that it's not their default setting. So the idea of love as well just got bigger for me, and bigger, and that's the space that I always come from.
I love that. Yeah, I think that's given me a bit of an insight, actually, because the thought of forgiving yourself before you forgive the other person, because you can have times in your life where someone may have done something which you perceive is to you and against you. Yeah. And you feel like it's unforgivable. But then if you sort of like take space and think about it, and like you said, it's not their default setting. So absolutely not. And it was a beautiful bit of learning for me, and noticing. And it's only when you notice those things that you can really do something very different. So it just feels a lot like a gentler space to be coming from. So I'm going to put my glasses on. Now, it's Gail. There was a couple of things that I used to say in terms of that everybody's always doing the very best that they can. Yeah. Yeah. And you know, knowing that piece of information is so important, because everybody is always doing the very best that they can. And it might not seem like it to us, but they are. Yeah, it's just their thinking that's affecting their behaviour, and it's remembering not to take things personal, because it's not personal to you. It's just a reflection of how they're feeling. Yeah, absolutely. And I've had one or two people. It was quite funny. Had some advisors from the job centre who come and did come on the course, and they were lovely, and they had their little what do we call them, lanyards and everything. And I said, no,
you're here for yourselves. So it's like, take your badges and everything off and put them in your handbags, and this is your time. And they absolutely loved it. They loved the information. It honestly, certainly, one of the women that came just looked like 10 years younger. It was beautiful. And then they started sending their clients along. And there was a lovely woman that came in, and she had a parka on with a hood. And she sat in the group, and she had her hood on and with her arms folded, and said, "I don't want to be here." But there was a couple of other words in there, and it was like, "They've sent me." And I said, "Well, you don't have to stay, but you know, you might want to hear some of the information." And just being really gentle again and really loving. And if I put any of Sid's DVDs on, she'd go, "I'm going out for a ciggy." So I'd go, "That's all right, that's all right." So she'd go out and she'd have a cigarette, and then she'd come back in. She loved tea and she loved biscuits. All right, we're on a winner here. And the third week, it was raining, absolutely raining. I thought, oh, she'll never turn up. Soaking wet, she was there. And the whole group were then getting a sense of, let's just, this person's part of our group, and we're all sharing the love, so let's just make it even more. And I heard a backstory because I gave her a lift home one day, and it was quite interesting what had happened in her life, because she'd had some children taken off her, and she'd had trouble with alcohol and drugs and stuff. And but then she'd stay in and listen to more and more. Like, she'd listen to Sid a bit more, she'd listen to me a bit more. So come the 6th week, she was there the whole time, and it was a birthday. So we walked in with a little birthday cake and a little birthday present. And at the end of the session, she said, "Can I tell them at the job centre this is on till Christmas?" So something somewhere landed. Something somewhere landed that she saw who she was. And that was a joy to behold. It really was.
As part of my research prior to doing this, I saw a few videos of you that were on YouTube, and you were talking about that story, and you said you made the decision just to show her love and to give her love, but you didn't go into what you did, whereas you've gone into it a bit more this time. So yeah.
It was special. I've had lots of people like that, and I'm always quite careful, because you've got to be careful of people's you know, who they are and things. But certainly, I'll just tell you about another guy. He come along with his mum, and he loved some of the information I was given. Now, I say what it is. When they come to get involved in this 6-week program, I tell them it's the principles. I tell him who Sid is, and all the rest of it. It's like, I don't cover anything up. It's like, ask me any questions you want. This is what I know. I'll share what I know, and then if you're interested, you can go off and have a look for yourself. And this guy had seen a psychiatrist most of his life, and had pretty much been told, "No chance, mate. This is it. This is how it's going to be." And I was telling him lots of things around the principles, thought, mind, and consciousness, and kind of explaining about different things. And when it got to the break, he come over to me and he said, "Sue, can I give you a hug?" I said, "Of course you can." And he come into my arms and he just cried his eyes out. And he just cried and cried and cried. And we went back in the room. He explained, he said, "Nobody said any of this information. Nobody told me that I've always been all right. No, everybody's told me I'm broken, and you were telling me I'm not broken. That little light inside is there, and you know, it can like not reignite, but get bigger, and I'm okay. And we went back in the room, and he sat down beside his mum, and he said, "I forgive you, Mum." And like, so the whole group were all on like tenderhooks, and he said, "This, like, I've blamed you some of my life." He told a backstory to this as well, but he said, "I've blamed you for some of the stuff that's gone on," and he said, "You know, please forgive me for that." And he said, "I love you so much because you've always been beside me." And they hugged each other, Anne-Marie, and honestly, everybody in the group were just in tears. I didn't need to say anything else or do anything else. That feeling and that what happened just filled everybody up so much there was nothing more to say. And that working with communities, that's what you witness. That's what I witness.
I can't think of anything else to ask. Has anybody got any
Okay.
questions for Sue? Go on, Kelly.
Oh, Anne-Marie, thanks for hosting. And Sue, like, my cuppeth filleth over. It's flowing. There's so many things I heard there, but really the place where you come from you and you're sharing the love of the understanding, and people are either choosing to not listen or choosing to listen. But I just love the fact that no matter what way they come in, they're always coming out something different.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I have a question, but I just jotted a few things down while we were sitting here, and it was that the children, when I think about the children, children aren't looking for the intellectual understanding of what you're saying. But more importantly, I think, Sue, you have mastered the arena of love, the delivery of love. If there's a class to, take, you've found your way to the doctorate of the delivery of love. And often I stumble with, my own hearing the trouble. I hear the trouble, and they're in the trauma, and my humanist wants to fix that, and I know in my heart it's not for me to do that, but I think it's just my life experiences that all my training, my education, what is like, oh, problem fixed, here's the answer, or what. And so I just love how you just would take that and just flip it right back into a loving place again. Like there is no brokenness, there is no, I wouldn't know what you were saying, but just holding energy there around love. I think my some of my work is there to, moving from one ear to the other ear. Like if this one's, oh, there's a negative, here's my love, right? What do you say to that?
Yeah, what I didn't realise, we had a saying when I used to work in a disadvantaged community, or it was classed as that in Middlesborough, and I ran a women's centre, and we had 750 women accessing the centre and 52 courses a week, and being the manager of that centre, I had the staff, I had the women, I had young people and going in the creche. And I am going to say a 4-letter word, so excuse me, everybody. But I used to say, if I let the shit stick, I'll stink.
Yeah.
And what that meant was, I'm not going to take anything personally. I'm like, if somebody's going to criticise me or be in judgment, then that is for them to do. And I don't need to have that stick to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that more and more now. And the other bit that I do understand more than what I have done in the past
Mm-hmm.
is that I've got to be in my health to help other people.
Mm-hmm.
So, years ago when I did that workaholic kind of thing, it was about a bit like what you're saying, trying to fix people. It was my job, and it wasn't. Because when people see the health in you, they know that that it's there for them.
I agree. I realize that for the distance and time that I've been listening to the principles, my ears are much different. I used to hear, respond, hear, act, right? And shifting it, now I still am aware of it. Like I hear it, but now I'm in that place. I'm conscious incompetence or conscious incompetence. I'm consciously aware of, oh, they're in a rumination of problem. And then I'm, I move over to the space of, and I don't need to do anything about that. And then it's like, but what the heck am I going to do now? What am I going to say? And I think I'm just stuck there right now. So I'm aware, I'm no longer acting on it, but I'm hearing you, don't take it personally. And I think the key of giving myself forgiveness of not knowing, like I just don't know what to say right now. So maybe just don't say anything at all, would be the best. But it is a learning curve, and I feel honestly that you've have a divine mastery in that skill. Every time I hear you speak or have been a part of a room with you, I go away going, oh my God, I have I'm the space. And you said, you said, I don't take it personally, and I thought, yeah, and that allows like that space to grow, the love space between you and the other person. It just becomes almost an unseen ground because you're separating from that experience. I love that. Thank you, Sue.
Anybody else?
Any more questions, Anne-Marie?
It's gone quiet. I can't hear people. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear.
Good, okay. Just all the pictures have frozen a couple of times during this call, and I think my internet connection might be a bit dodgy at the moment, so I was just checking. If there aren't any more questions, and if Sue hasn't got anything else, I think we'll close it there then. If that's okay with everybody. Thanks everybody for coming, and thank you, Sue, for your time and creating a beautiful space for all of us. Thank you.
Sending lots of love to everybody.
Lots of love. Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Anne-Marie.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye. Much love.
Take care. Bye.